After my recent video about Vita games being removed from the web and mobile PSN store, I had some requests from people to put together a video of must-own digital games on the Vita. I started going through PSN looking at all the Vita games available, and originally I was thinking to do a list of just 10. But I found so many games out there that are digital only that I think are really worth owning and worth keeping on your radar, that I thought I had to do a longer video. So I decided to pick out 30 games and make 2 videos. The first one being the kind of more expensive, larger games, proper kind of published games, and the second one is more the indie games. So onto this list, there's no particular order, it's really more about just games that are on the digital store that I think are worth owning. So the first game is the Persona 3 and 5 Dancing Bundle. I'm a really big fan of the dancing games and all the music of Persona. These 2 games are really good. You can get them in Japanese if you want to import them, but in terms of the English ones, they're only available on PSN, unfortunately. There's no physical copy for those ones. I think they're really good games, and I had a lot of fun with them. So given that they're not available physically, I think they are games worth owning, especially if you enjoy Persona 3 and Persona 5 and you enjoy the music. The next title is actually 3 games. I've had so many recommendations to play ATELIER games on the Vita, and the ARLAND trilogy are supposed to be the best ones to play. It's pretty expensive, but as a set of 3, it seemed like a decent deal. I was waiting for a long time, hoping they would go on sale. Doesn't seem like that's going to happen, so I've picked it up now. It's supposed to be really good, so eventually when I complete them all, I'll try and do a review of them. Attack on Titan: Wings of Freedom. So I bought the Japanese version of this and it is brilliant. From a gameplay perspective, it's awesome. It follows the story of season 1 of Attack on Titan, which is a really good story as well. I kind of felt like since I already knew the story, I'd watched the anime, I decided to just buy the Japanese version. But actually I was always hoping that there would be a sale that I could buy the English one as well. But, since that's not going to happen, but the gameplay is awesome, the graphics are awesome. I think this is a really, really good game. If you were waiting for a while before biting the bullet in this one, I recommend it. It's a really good game. The next game is another one that I've just bought after all of this news. So I bought On the Surge Plus, Ode to an Unborn Star. Now this did have an English version, but I've kind of broken my rules here in terms of talking about digital only games. The value of the game here, the cart, is so high, it's really expensive to try and buy this game physically. So I'm kind of counting it as something probably worth owning digitally if the store were to shut down sometime soon. It's supposed to be an amazing game actually, so again it's another one that I really want to get to and play. The next game is Dynasty Warrior GODSEEKERS. There are quite a few games, Dynasty Warrior games, available on the Vita and Samurai Warrior games, which are kind of similar in terms of gameplay. This one is more of a strategy game compared to the Muso of the other ones. But it's one of these games that's only available digitally, and so I think it's another one worth grabbing. There's also Samurai Warriors 4 Empires. So again, the Empires games are more strategy as well. That's also something to consider picking up. Fate Extella Link, this came out last year, is probably the last kind of big 3D game on the Vita 3D action game. This again, it's kind of a Muso game, like a Dynasty Warriors game. It's a lot of fun, great graphics, really, it's not, doesn't take too long to beat, it's just a good fun game. The next game, I can never pronounce it. It's Utawara Ramono Prelude to the Fallen. It's the one that came out a few months ago. It's a visual novel and strategy RPG. One of the last big games kind of on the Vita, published by NIS. Again, I think it's worth owning. We'll never get a physical of this game in English, unfortunately. The next game is one that does have an English physical release only in Asia. I thought it's still worth pointing out given that it's not in the West, we can't get it physically. And it's a brilliant game, Dragon Quest Builders. This is a really fun game. It's kind of, I've described it before, like Minecraft, but with a story and made easier to learn and understand. It's a really fun game, really big as well. There's so much to do in it. I can't recommend it enough. It's really fun. The next game is Romancing Saga 3. This is an old SNES game that's just been released for the first time in the West. It came out last year on the Vita. It is amazing. It really took me by surprise. There's so many twists and turns in the game. There's so many unexpected events that happen. It's really, even though it's so old, it feels really fresh and unlike most RPGs I've ever played. It's not coming out physically on the Vita. There is a physical Switch release if you want to grab that. But it's a great game and definitely worth owning. Of this list, is probably my favorite game on this list today. The next game on the list is Cladding Returns. This is Sengoku. Nobody talks about this game, but it's just brilliant. It's an action RPG. It came out probably about 2-3 years ago now. There's a demo on PSN if you want to check it out. It's just a really fun game with, again, so much content available. It's just so much to do in this game, and even when you finish the main game, there's this like 99 floor dungeon and loads to keep you busy. Really recommend it. Try out the demo, see what you think of it. HELLDIVERS is next. Another digital-only game. This one was published by Sony. It's a twin-stick shooter that's super duper hard. It's also multiplayer. You can play with other people on PS4 as well. So there may be more people online to play with, which is great. Really good game. Just expect a challenge on this one. The next game is Caligula Effect. This game, it's accused of being Persona, but it's actually a pretty good game. I've started it, I haven't finished it, but so far I'm pretty impressed with it. It's really unique in the world and style as well. Under Night In-Birth EXE Latest is next, and this is a 2D fighting game from Arc Systems Works. Really impressive in terms of the graphics. The gameplay is great. There's this long visual novel element to it as well. I found the story a little bit kind of hard to figure out, but other than that, it's an awesome game. And they had a price cut on it about a year ago, so it used to be about £30, now it's £20. It's a great game, it's definitely worth owning. The next game is Berserk and the Band of Hawk. This is a good game. It's another Musou style game. If you like the anime, it's based on that. It's again only digital in the West. There is a Japanese version if you want to grab that, but otherwise in the West, this is the only way to grab it. The final game on this list is Muramasa Rebirth. Now this did have a physical version, physical release in North America, but it's got so much DLC. It's got four pretty big pieces of DLC that are available on PSN, and you can only get it digitally. There is no kind of Ultimate Edition cartridge with all the DLC included. And so I thought it's worth keeping on this list as well. You know, if you imagine if one day the PSN does go away and you're not able to buy anything, then you kind of lose access to those 4 bits of DLC. The DLC is really good. It's really kind of new and unique with 4 different characters and different stories. I think it's definitely worth owning, and it's actually a pretty decent price nowadays. So guys, that's part 1 of my recommendations for digital games on the Vita. Let me know in the comments what do you recommend for other people, and come back for part 2 where I'll focus more on the indie games. Thanks for watching.